Those of you who don't know the words, I apologize. That was a real oldie but goodie around here. The topic for today is how to use it. Kind of a theme we've been doing all month. It. Use it. The topic, the outline was submitted by Dr. James Lockard. Some of you know him. He's a retired minister from the CSL in Simi Valley. I'm actually Facebook friends with Jim. So, are you? Do you know? No.
But I know of.
He starts with a quote from Dr. Holmes. Shockingly. Science of mind. The practice of science of mind calls for a positive understanding of the spirit of truth, a willingness to let this inner spirit guide us, with the conscious knowledge that the law of the universe is perfect. And when you start with that belief, then you know how to use it. And I pretty much changed everything after that. So I like to do things in 3. So step 1, focus, focus, focus. That's 3. Mind is the active cause in our lives. When you focus your mind on your intentions in a conscious manner, your intentions tend to manifest through the law of mind. That's our basic Science of Mind 101. Bringing your thoughts and feelings into alignment and positive expectation of your good is the key to a life that's fulfilling, joy-filled, appreciative. Another quote from Dr. Holmes in Science of Mind. We should learn to control our thought processes and bring them into line with reality. Thought should tend more and more toward an affirmative attitude of mind that is positive, stable, and above all else, toward a real unity with spirit that's already complete and perfect. Step 2. What was step 1?
Focus.
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 Focus. Focus. Step 2. Practice. 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 We know our minds are like gardens. I mean, that's how we teach the symbol over there. We cultivate our thoughts and feelings that we desire, like we cultivate flowers that we want to experience. The weeds, the negative, they arise on their own. We don't plant those. All we need to do is dismiss them as we arise. No one I know has ever planted a weed yet, intentionally. Yet there they are. We turn our attention to the garden that we want. Keep our focus. Practice daily. Nurture the good. Nurture the good thoughts. And we know that's what manifests. Dr. Holmes says one of the great difficulties in the new order of thought is that we are likely to indulge in too much theory and too little practice. That's what inspired me to say, practice, practice, practice. And I really do see tendencies in our teaching to spend a lot of time on theory and a little bit of time on where the rubber meets the road. And that's the practice. How do we do it? Well, when I was writing this talk, I easily came up with focus, focus, focus. Then I came up with practice, practice, practice. And I got to this next section and I went, what want to say? So I typed XXX, XXX, XXX as a placeholder, and guess what it became?
Love.
XXX, Express, Express, Express. So whatever was guiding me was trying to guide me in that vein, and I was going, what? I don't get it. Express, Express, Express. And for my own entertainment, I wrote RXXX. I'm easily entertained. When we use the science of mind, we do what comes naturally. It's easy. There's nothing mysterious about the correct use of science of the mind. We use mind all the time. That is, we direct its actions by means of our thoughts and feelings and beliefs. We do it all the time. We've done it since we were in diapers. We didn't have any training that we remembered. Maybe it was in that birth manual that they gave us, but I misplaced mine early on. The science of mind is about doing that in a consistently constructive manner. Turn toward the light in your life, like the sunflower turns towards the sun. It's automatic. It's natural. When we do our practice daily, diligently, and conscientiously, we create an automatic mechanism within us that turns us towards our good, turns us towards the light, that allows even people like me to go XXXX. Oh, what's that supposed to mean? Express. Okay. It gets easier and easier and easier when you open up to it, when you allow it to take place. That's the pure potentiality of spirit expressing itself through us. Spiritual energy is infinite, and it tends to be expressed. It will find expression one way or another. There's always enough to spare and enough to share. It's our attitude that can create this sense of restriction, a sense of lack that constricts our expression of abundance. Now here's a long quote from Dr. Holmes, and I'll get to other quotes shortly. A new light is coming into the world. We're on the border of a new experience. The veil between spirit and matter is very thin. Now, he wrote this in the 30s. The invisible passes into visibility through our faith in it. A new science, a new religion, and a new philosophy are rapidly being developed. But we are not a religion, so I'm not sure what he's talking about there. This is in line with the evolution of the great presence, and nothing can hinder its progress. It is useless as well as foolish to make any attempts of cover this principle, or to hold it as a vested right of any religion, sect, or order. I like that. We do not try to hold this to ourselves. The truth will out. Spirit will make itself known. Happy are we if we see these things which from the foundation of the human race have been longed for by all aspiring souls. That's end quote. So, I kind of broke that up with personal comments, but just as a reminder, the topic today is how to use it. So perfectly, now everyone knows how to use it, right? After that long, beautiful quote from Dr. Holmes, you certainly have enough information on how the rubber meets the road in spirituality and science and mind. No?
No.
Should I keep going?
Yep.
I'll get more specific. I'll give you a personal example of knowing how to use it or not. My first job in Reno, after I got out of the Air Force, I went to the U.S. Bureau of Mines, and I walked in to apply for a janitorial position. I didn't set my sights high. I just wanted to work for the government, knowing I'd never be furloughed. But I knew enough to treat somehow, not truly in this teaching, but I knew I'm always open to this or something better. So I walked in to apply for a janitorial position, and I walked out as an engineering technician. The hiring guy was also a veteran, and we talked for a few, moments about my background and prior education, and he goes, "You don't want to be a janitor." I said, "Hey, I just want to get in the door." He said, "I respect that, but let's shoot for this. How would you feel about that?" And I said, "I'd feel great about that." So he says, "Come back Monday." So Monday I go back, and he introduces me to my new boss, a lovely, wonderful Chinese PhD chem engineer. And I couldn't understand a word he said. He took me down to this separate wing of the building, much bigger than this. And I was going to be an engineering technician in charge of running this pilot plant, where I would be moving chemicals from one 500-gallon vat to another 500-gallon vat, and we were going to demonstrate an ability to extract lead from galena without smelting. Smelting was one of the worst environmental disasters of all time. So I was going to work on a project to eliminate smelting from the face of the earth. He gave me a half-an-hour tour of the pilot plant, and then the only thing I really understood in that was, "Wait here." So he left, and I sat there for half an hour, and then an hour, and I'm beginning to think, am I supposed to know how to run this now? What am I supposed to be doing? And I thought, I don't know how to use it. I need help. And then another guy walked in, and he was a young, recent PhD, called chem engineer. And he goes, "Well, you ready to learn how to use this?" And I was like, "Oh, thank God." I was afraid Dr. Wong had just explained it to me. He goes, "I don't understand anything he says." But the good news was, this guy explained to me, this is going to take weeks to train you how to use this. And I thought, oh, good, because I really don't know how to use it. But in the long run, after many months, first of learning, then me running that experimental plant, I helped perfect it. I helped miniaturize it. We proved that we could do a cheaper, easier variation of getting lead out of galena without smelting. And there's little, if any, known smelting goes on the planet today. But I had the thrill of learning how to use it. Then I helped with that chem engineer, the young guy. We computerized it. We made it even smaller, and he and I got a US patent in our names.
Wow.
So practice, practice, practice did make perfect once I knew how to use it. And to me, that was a great, great opportunity, and we made the most of it. Not everyone can say they've changed the environment. I can. I helped. I didn't do it. Wasn't my original idea, but I helped perfect it. So, it's funny how I can work that in. But not everybody gets those same types of opportunities. So how do you make the most of what comes your way? And we all have opportunities to make a difference. We have to recognize it, we have to open up to it, we have to seize it. In one of my first Bibles, called The Infinite Way by Joel Goldsmith, he tells us how to use it. First, we must live on a higher plane of consciousness. Insofar as possible, we must train ourselves to know that anything that exists in the realm of effect is not cause, is not creative, has no power over us. This brings up the most important spiritual wisdom that I am can give us. It's I am the law. I am truth. I am life eternal. Since I am infinite consciousness, and since I am the law, then nothing external can act upon me and be a law unto me. I'm continuing the quote. There's nothing from which we can ever suffer but the acceptance of illusion as reality. Last week I was accepting the illusion of the flu as my reality. More Goldsmith. These things called sin and disease are not what we are suffering from. They are the forms of the one error that is assumed. Regardless of the name we use, they are hypnotism, suggestion, illusion, appearing as person, place, or thing, appearing as sin, disease, lack, and limitation. So, from Goldsmith, I learned nothing in the realm of effect is actually causative. It isn't creative. We suffer from acceptance of the illusions we perceive as reality. Now, I mentioned I consider the Infinite Way one of my holy scriptures. Here's another one. Illusions, the adventures of a reluctant Messiah. We have at least one recognition. Sharon,
yeah.
Kate, others, yeah. This is a simple little book by Richard Bach, one of my favorite authors. Now I'm sure, and we've demonstrated, many of you are familiar with this book, but for those who aren't, let me give you the premise. Richard Bach is flying around the country selling rides in his biplane when he sees a plane down in the field. So he flies down to see what's going on. Is somebody else doing what he's doing? And that's where he meets Donald Shimoda, the reluctant Messiah. So I will use Donald Shimoda and the Messiah sort of interchangeably in pretty much the rest of the talk. When Richard asks the Messiah, a mechanic named Donald, why are we here? Because the Messiah has much, much knowledge. Why are we here? To answer, Shimoda takes him to see a movie. Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. Just happened to be at the one and only theater in town where they had flown into. just when Butch and Sundance are surrounded by the entire Bolivian army, who's not there to capture them, the Messiah leans over to Richard and he says, "Why are you here?" And Richard goes, "I want to see the end of the movie. This is the climax." And people in front are turning around looking at him like, so Messiah waits. So as soon as they leave the theater, Richard says, "What was that about? Why did you do that? You always have a purpose." And the Messiah goes, "Why are you here?" And he goes, "I was there to see the movie." Okay. But the Messiah doesn't let that go. And literally about the next 5 pages in the book are the Messiah comparing the movies to our lifetimes. He says, the movies aren't real. The pictures aren't even moving. They only appear to our perception to move. It's all an illusion. The script was written ahead of time. The actors agreed to play the parts. But why? Have they played other parts? Have they been in other movies? Yeah. According to the Messiah, there's only 2 reasons to be here in this space-time continuum: education and fun. And everything Richard comes up to, tries to point out, the Messiah says, it's either education or it's fun. So we'll continue this little analogy here. Comparing our incarnations to movies. Richard suggests that some people go to the movies and their lifetime just to be social. And Shimoda says, yeah, we do that. We agree to come into lifetimes with our soul family so we can help them, so we can have fun, and we can all learn together. He says, well, that's fun, but why do some people choose particular lifetimes as opposed to others? Then they play roles which help each other learn from that experience. Now, many of you remember my story about my fiance who agreed to come into this lifetime with me to teach me the value of cheating. That was a tough one. But that's exactly what we're talking about. So Richard says to Shimoda, so movies are like lifetimes, is that right? Yes. Then why would anyone choose a bad lifetime? A horror movie. Well, they come to the horror movies for fun. They know it's going to be a horror movie when they walk in. But yet they've agreed to do it. Why? Because they think they deserve it for horrifying someone else in another lifetime. Or they've agreed to be the horror-inducing person this time. But they believe they're helpless. That's what the choice they have to do. And Richard says, how many lifetimes does that go on? The Messiah says, how many films have you seen? That's a lot of lifetimes. All the actors in these films have been in other films, sometimes with the same other actors. It depends on which film you choose to see first. Are you seeing the 21st century film of your life or the 15th century film of your life? They're all filmed, they're all on cinema, they're all available all at the same time. If you don't agree to the concept, you can't come into this dimension to learn. Yet there are other movies playing in other planets with other rules. Have you seen movies about other planets? we're also free to change the script any time we want. That's a lot better than being on the film. Who's the director in these films? We are. Who's the playwright? We are. Who's the cinematographer? Who's the sound expert? We are.
I am.
Cool. He's got the sound master.
He is.
We can even see the same film over and over and over. We don't know why, but we choose something about it, either for fun or education. So I want to give you a quote from Donald Shimoda, Richard Bach. We are game playing, fun having creatures. We are the otters of the universe. We cannot die. We cannot hurt ourselves any more than illusions on the screen can be hurt. But we can believe we're hurt in whatever agonizing detail we want. We can believe we're victims, killed and killing, shuttered around by good and bad luck. Many lifetimes, many characters, many roles. Killer, victim, cheater, cheated. Films about this lifetime, films about other planets, and so on. So I want to give you a few more quotes from the Scripture of Illusions. Imagine the universe beautiful and just and perfect. Then be sure of one thing. The is has imagined it quite a bit better than you have. The is, the radiant is, the thing itself. It. Here's another quote. Every person, all the events of your life are there because you have drawn them there. What you choose to do with them is up to you. Now, many of you have heard the next one, I'm sure, and probably didn't even know where it came from. Here's a test to find out whether your mission on earth is finished. If you're alive, it isn't. That's from the Holy Scriptures of Illusions. And finally, this one. The mark of your ignorance is the depth of your belief in injustice and tragedy. What the caterpillar calls the end of the world, the master calls a butterfly. That one is personal for me. The mark of my ignorance is the depth of my belief in injustice, tragedy, and poor drivers. I get outraged. I tend to focus on social injustice, government shutdowns, tragedies. That's just me, you know. I'm aware of it. I'm working on it. But I'm still here, so I know my mission on earth isn't finished. But let's remember these quotes. Next time we're busy getting wrapped around an axle regarding politics or social issues. Just a thought. Remember, we are fun-seeking otters, playing at this game in a universe designed for our good. It conspires with us for our good. It's good to be a fun-playing otter. It's good to be a Stevie. I have a summary. No more of this. The science of mind shows us how to use our minds to to create our experience of reality, or what we choose to accept as reality. We can use this more fully in our lives through daily spiritual practice. We can create a vision in our lives and live that vision to its fullest expression. Let us say yes.
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 Yay. Say yes to the divine creative impulse within us, today and every day. There is a power for good in the universe, and we can and should use it for our good and others. Anything that benefits us benefits others. Namaste.
More. Encore.
No. We want to get away from